Hey there, Rick Sage, recording at the Rimrock Studios in Bishop, California. Welcome to Season 2 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz and share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and ideas you can use to take your career or business to the next level. Today's episode is brought to you in part by the Something About Nothing podcast. Think the Seinfeld show meets your favorite morning show. It's a few regular folks from outside Seattle, Washington, talking around the table about sports, the news of the day, and the absurdity of life. Something About Nothing is an entertaining variety show that covers all the stuff you want to talk about but aren't supposed to. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify. Check it out today. Just search SOMETHIN about NOTHIN. You won't believe how fun listening to a show about nothing can be. I'm excited to catch up with Katie Wade on the show today. Katie talks about how she got into the outdoors, some of her experiences guiding at A16 and Trail Mavens, and about a couple of new gear rental programs that you need to know about. Enjoy. Good morning, Katie. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Rick.
Yeah, good to chat with you. So let's start out with how you first got exposed to the outdoors. How did that all come about?
Well, I was lucky enough to have parents that took me hiking in the local mountains where I grew up. I grew up at the base of the Angeles National Forest in Los Angeles. And,
where in Los Angeles? Sorry.
So I actually grew up in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, just a few streets away from the first sports chalet.
Yeah. Did you go to what's the high school there?
I went to La Cañada High.
La Cañada High. Okay, there was another.
Yeah, the only public school in town.
Yeah, there's another school that used to bring their seniors up to I was a guide on the Kern River, and they would come up every year for their senior class trip. I forget the name of that school, though.
Well, there were a lot of private schools in the area, like Flint Ridge Prep and Sacred Heart, St. Francis.
Might have been Flint Ridge. It might have been Flint Ridge.
Yeah, but
so you were close to the mountains. Yeah, that's great.
Really close. Yes, close enough that my parents were almost needing to evacuate a few times from the fires that have happened up there in the national forest over the years. But yeah, my parents, they're not like big, huge outdoor people, but they love nature and they loved taking us on hikes. My brother and I, when we were kids, up in the national forest, and then we'd do road trips to Yosemite and the Grand Canyon. And we'd always stay in hotels. They weren't big campers.
Oh, you didn't camp? Okay, yeah.
But the exposure to camping happened much later. But I definitely had a love for the outdoors from a young age because of where I grew up, and then my parents prioritizing taking us to the national parks.
That's cool. And how'd you get into camping?
I got into camping because I went to a summer camp, a sleepaway camp on Catalina through the YMCA.
Cool.
And so got to spend time on the island, and it was glorified camping. We had kind of shelters that we would stay in that were open air shelters, so you could feel the breeze of the ocean. And that was kind of my first exposure to sleeping outside. And I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and kind of kept on finding opportunities over the next several years throughout middle school and high school to go on camping trips.
So what was your first solo camping trip like? That's always quite an experience for most of us. We remember it dearly.
It's funny. By solo, do you mean by myself, or like not with an organized like camp?
Yeah, not with a group kind of thing. Yeah, not necessarily by yourself.
Yeah. So actually, I have a pretty vivid memory of this. I went to take my wilderness first responder course in Bishop.
Right.
And I decided that I would camp out instead of, I was in college. I didn't want to spend money. So I decided to camp out, on the BLM land instead of, renting a room in this lodge that people were staying in. And I got, my tent, and I drove out in the middle of the BLM land, and it was dark when I arrived, and I couldn't see anybody else around. And I pitched my tent. It was super windy, and I realized how hard it was to pitch a tent by yourself when it's really windy. And I just had my headlights on my car just like pointing at where I was setting up the tent, and it kind of made me feel like I was in a horror movie.
Nice.
And, if anybody was around, they could definitely see me struggling.
Right.
But
Nobody
I
came to
ended up
help you. That's like, geez, come on, folks.
No one came to help me. I think it was because it was like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I got the tent pitched. I'm luckily a good sleeper, so I fell asleep right away.
That's good.
And I woke up in the morning, and there were 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crazy snowstorm. And
what time of year was it? Springtime? Must have been springtime.
It was I think it was December, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so I drove up to go to the course, and they were like, "Oh, wow, anybody camping out? If you didn't realize that there's a snowstorm, we're willing to let people stay here who hadn't originally booked a room."
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds kind of nice. And so I had my one night out, and I was very proud of myself. And then I took them up on the opportunity to not be in a snowstorm, which was really lovely.
Yeah. Well, and you got to, little share some stories with the group and whatnot. That's always fun to do too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. So what was your first outdoor job?
My first outdoor job was in college. I actually chose to go to UC San Diego because I saw a woman going down the street on a kayak on wheels. And I asked her why she was in a kayak going down the sidewalk. And she said that she was there to promote a program called Wilderness Orientation, which allowed students to go on a 10-day outdoor adventure with older students as guides who could give them insight into what college was like. And you could meet people who were also incoming freshmen who were on your trip. Very and fun. Have a different type of orientation. So I went to UC San Diego, went on wilderness orientation, and did a 10-day sea kayaking trip in Baja, Mexico. Nice. And had tremendous guides, 2 of which were women who I had never learned any outdoor skills from women before. So it was really amazing to kind of see that I could be one of them, that I could teach people outdoor skills too. So as soon as I started school, I joined the Outback Adventures kind of outdoor club on campus and started training to be an outdoor guide. So the first paid job I had in the outdoors was guiding trips for my university. And they were a wide range of trips from kayaking, climbing, backpacking, canoeing. So lots of different adventures. And I just absolutely loved it. Got my wilderness first responder and went on a bunch of training trips and just absolutely loved that job.
Yeah. So when you got out of college, you continued on? What did you do after college?
So after college, I studied urban planning. And kind of just by accident, had that crisis moment where you're a senior and you realize that you still haven't figured out what you want to do with your life.
Right.
And
I still haven't figured that out.
I think it's a constant journey through life.
Yeah.
But I changed my major 4 times through college. I just had so many different, I had so many different interests, and thought I could take my, future in so many different directions. So by the time I was a senior, I had a lot of credits and no major. And so I went into my counselor, and they kind of did the hard job of figuring out what the closest major I could get would be with all of my credits.
Right. Piece something together. Let's make something up here. I got to get out.
And it turned out I just need to do a senior project and take a couple more classes in urban planning, and I would be an urban planning major. Huh. And so I did that, and then figured, hey, you should probably get a job in the thing that you majored in, because that seems logical. And so I got a job working for the County of San Diego's urban planning department. And 2009, if anybody remembers, was not a great time for the economy.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And so myself and most of my friends could not find any paid work. So I worked for the county unpaid.
Oh, wow.
And that was really a struggle on the paying rent side of things. And so it got about 6 months in of not having any paid work of working at the county. And I realized that I needed to supplement my work with something that actually paid me.
That's a good thing.
And I had actually worked for about 6 months at REI in Berkeley because I did a semester at UC Berkeley. And because I had guided trips in college and loved the gear, I got a job working for a short time up there when I was kind of quote unquote studying abroad up in Berkeley. And when I came back to San Diego and graduated and was looking for now some paid work, I looked at REI San Diego to see if they had any openings, and they actually didn't. And so I looked at Adventure 16, which had actually been where I bought my first pair of backpacking boots for guiding these backpacking trips in college. And I had a really great experience. So I went into the Solana Beach store, which was the closest to campus, and they had an opening. So
cool. So you're an A16 alumni.
Yeah. And got a job
at
A16. Yeah. And after just 3 more months of working both at the county and at A16, an assistant manager role opened up, and I decided to take that and leave the county, and decided that getting paid sounded like a great idea.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Albeit not very much pay, as we all know, as retail workers on the floor. But I loved it. I loved the gear, and most importantly, I loved the reps that would come in, and that really had a huge impact and kind of was a turning point for me of where I could see myself going with my life and my career, because the reps were, Jeff Sheets, Dan Hill, Dan Miller, Tim Richards, all of these incredible reps who were so passionate about what they do and taught me more than just about their brand, but about, the technical aspects of the product and what the industry was all about. And they kept talking about this outdoor retailer trade show. It's so cool. Yeah. So, I took advantage of opportunities when I was at Adventure 16, like going to Outdoor Academy, which is kind of like a super clinic, participating in the 8,000 meter challenge, where I got to meet people from other outdoor retailers. And then I was also lucky enough that Steve Barker and Ricky Schlesinger from Eagle Creek were my customers at the A16 in Solana Beach. So they would come in and tell me about how that store was the original Eagle Creek factory.
Right.
And,
I bought my first backpack at that store years ago.
No way.
Yeah.
So it really made me feel like I could be a part of this kind of big family of people who had shared interests. And so that was kind of my first outdoor retail industry job.
Yeah. And how'd you end up at, now you're an assistant brand manager at Cliff Bar, do I have that right?
I am.
Yeah. How'd you end up at Cliff?
A long journey of working for other companies. For A16, I went to the North Face as a tech rep in the Midwest. And then I came back to California and worked as a sales coordinator for Adventure Medical Kits, and then as a key account manager at Timbuktu. And so kind of been jumping around to different companies in the industry. And about, now 4 years ago, I climbed Mount Shasta for a fundraiser called the Climb Against the Odds. That is to raise funds for the Breast Cancer Prevention Partners, which focuses on the prevention aspects of breast cancer, so the environmental causes of breast cancer. And that event has a bunch of outdoor industry sponsors, one of which was Adventure Medical Kits, who I was working for, and then another is Cliff Bar.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm on the mountain climbing Shasta, and a couple of people on the climb worked at Cliff Bar, and they were both on my rope team.
Oh, cool.
And I got a chance to just talk to them about what they did at Cliff Bar, what they liked about the company, and they were just beaming with pride and joy for working at Cliff Bar.
Great.
I had been eating Cliff Bars for years.
I think all of us have eaten a number of Cliff Bars.
And so I was like, that's really I kind of tucked that little nugget away in my mind of, okay, these people absolutely love working at Cliff Bar. And I kept in touch with a couple of the people that I climbed with, via LinkedIn, and I'd see them at industry events and see them at Outdoor Retailer, and they were still there. They were still at Cliff Bar. And here I was bouncing around the industry, going to different companies, and I hadn't quite found where I felt like I fit in the most.
Right.
And so I decided, hey, you know what? There's a position that's really interesting now that's posted at Cliff Bar. I'll just see if there's any chance that I can, snag it. And the most challenging part is the fact that I've been in sales the entire time I've been in the industry, and I had never been in marketing.
Yeah, but they're pretty well joined at the hip. I mean, once you've done one, you can do the other, and vice versa, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I was pretty intimidated by it, mostly because of, LinkedIn stalking all the people who were
Right.
on the teams and how well
Right.
pedigreed they were in marketing and working for large consumer packaged good companies like Quaker and Nestle and Ghirardelli and, all these big
Right.
companies. And I was like, am I going to be able to play in this space at all?
Yeah.
So I've only been at Cliff for 3 months now.
Oh, cool.
So it's very fresh.
Yeah.
But it's been such a joy to be there and kind of beyond anything that I had ever set as my expectations
Good for you. That's
for
great.
the company. So really jazzed and honored to be part of two brand teams. So I actually work on Cliff Kid and Luna.
Fun.
So
Okay,
two of the sub brands within.
And what kind of things do you do? For people that are curious about that role, what kind of things do you do in your daily, daily job? You haven't been to a trade show yet, have you?
Not with Cliff.
With
and
Cliff,
actually,
yeah.
Brand managers, especially kind of on these smaller sub brands, don't tend to go to trade shows other than like the large
big food shows.
Trade shows. Yes,
right.
Which a little bit makes me sad because I think I've now been to every OR for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
But I am excited to kind of explore different trade shows, especially ones where they're feeding me all day. So it's awesome.
And some of those natural food shows are pretty cool. They have some good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the big one that I'll be going to is the natural foods one. So it's
fun.
Yeah, all kinds of delicious, healthy foods, which is great. But on a daily basis, we kind of describe brand management as an inch deep and a mile wide. So I am helping as one of the overseers of all things that touch the brand, whether it be the actual product, helping develop the product that we come out with, the packaging that the product, has and how it looks and its, creative elements of that, the marketing of that product, the sales of it, like where we want to prioritize the product being sold into, customer service, what we want the customer service people to talk about when it comes to the product. So it's very cross-functional. I get to work with almost every team at the entire company.
Right.
And, I don't dive super, super, super deep into any one of those, but I kind of am the high-level manager to make sure that everything follows the brand strategy.
That's good. And it's deep and a mile wide is a great description. I like that.
Yeah, it's been great so far. Obviously, only 3 months in, but
so far, early,
so far, so good.
Well, and I think that's why I think sales and marketing are pretty well aligned, because sales guys, you have to do the same thing, right? You interact with all other aspects in the organization, so you work with all functional teams like you're doing in marketing. So it's important to have both of those skills.
I like that. That's a good connection point there. Yeah, and I said to them, is it weird that I don't have a marketing background? And they're like, no, it's actually great because you bring a different perspective.
Exactly.
And, and I think that that's something that's really important for people who are kind of looking to shift roles in the industry is to always realize that having a different point of view and a different perspective is actually super valuable and sometimes even more valuable than having just many more years of
you bring fresh eyes
the
to
same experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you do a little weekend work. You were telling us about some work you do with Trail Mavens. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was at a Camber Outdoors, which used to be the Outdoor Industry Women's Coalition networking event here in the Bay Area, and I met a woman who had just started her own company guiding women's outdoor trips.
Oh, cool.
And this was about 4 years ago, and she was a one-woman show at the time, pretty much. She was guiding trips, several trips a month by herself. Had her own website, was reaching out on social media to people to get women excited about going on outdoor trips with other women and learning outdoor skills in the local area. So trips to Yosemite and Tahoe and Big Sur, and helping women in the area get to know a lot of these beautiful places that we have at our fingertips.
Right, close by.
And I said, if you ever need a guide, I guided all through college. And this sounds like something that I'd really love to be a part of, because I was lucky enough to have women teach me a lot of outdoor skills. And it really did have an impact on me, and I'd love to share that with other women.
Cool.
And so
Yeah.
I kind of joined forces with Sasha Cox, who started Trail Mavens, and now have been guiding for her for almost 4 years, or
Nice.
almost 3 years rather.
Uh-huh.
And it's been just an incredible journey to realize how different outdoor experiences that are the first experiences for people can be when they're in a really supportive environment where they can be vulnerable and they don't have to have fear of, someone, knowing more than them.
Right.
It's been really amazing. So we take about 8 to 10 women out every weekend. There's a trip now.
Wow, that's
We've
amazing.
grown the program tremendously, and women who have no experience whatsoever can come, and then also women who do have some and just want to, find other awesome outdoor women that they can go on trips with outside of Trail Mavens. So yeah, I have a trip coming up next weekend, which is actually all women over 50 who are going on their first backpacking trip on Angel Island.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty incredible to be able to sleep on an island in the middle of the bay with the sweeping views of San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, that's fabulous. How are you going to get out there? Are you going to get motored out there? Are you going to kayak out there?
There is a ferry that goes from Tiburon over to Angel Island State Park, and then we'll hike the whole island to get to the other side where the backcountry campsites are.
Cool, that'll be fun. So how many
should be a blast.
Do you do that every weekend, or how many weekends a month?
I have a lot of things on my plate, so I try to do no more than 2 trips a month.
Gotcha.
So in July I have 2 trips, but this month I just have 1 trip. And luckily we have 7 guides now. So
that's amazing. That's great
with
growth.
our forces combined, we can kind of cover all the trips and make it happen. So yeah, Sasha's done an incredible job of growing the community, and now we have events that happen throughout the month that are free for people who've either come on Trail Mavens trips or who are interested in being a part of the Trail Mavens community.
Cool. Yeah.
So we have happy hours, and I actually am giving a gear clinic for Trail Mavens and really any women on this coming Tuesday, so that I can share some of my, all those years of being a tech rep and listening to gear clinics. I'm going to be sharing what makes fabric waterproof, water resistant, get into technical fabrics so that people in the Trail Mavens community can make smart decisions when they go make purchases for their gear.
Well, we'll link to Trail Mavens so people can find out what you guys are up to, and if they want to go on a trip, that'd be great. Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
And so you're also a graduate of the Skip Yao Future Leadership Program. What was that like?
Yeah, I actually just listened to your episode from Stacia Rains, who led the force for making this leadership academy happen.
Yeah, she was the catalyst for getting that off the ground, right?
Exactly. But so, what is it? It's an immersive leadership experience that is a 6-month program for young people in the outdoor industry who see themselves as wanting to be leaders and kind of make positive changes in the industry in the future. And so I actually found out about it because my colleague and friend, Molly Labonte, who worked at Timbuktu with me, who's now at the North Face, she was in the academy for its first year.
Oh, cool.
And I could just see how much of an impact it had on her personal development and leadership.
Right.
And I wanted to experience that as well. So I was really honored to make it into the second year of the academy with about 30 other people from throughout the industry. And it was an amazing experience.
That's what I've heard. I've heard everybody that's been through it just rants, and of course, I'm no doubt that it would be. I mean, Stacia and OA does a great job, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was a really great eye-opener. I think we tend to get really stuck in our companies, like our day-to-day, what we're focused on.
Yep.
And it's sometimes difficult to remember that there are other people who are experiencing the same challenges, who are trying to troubleshoot the same things, and that maybe we would be better off if we shared best practices instead of just staying in our little silos of our companies.
Right.
And
because at the end of the day, it's all widgets, right? Whether it's Cliff Bars or tents, it's all widgets. There's all we use the same spreadsheets and the same back end software, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. And so that was the most valuable thing to me with the Academy, was really just knowledge sharing with all of the other people at other companies, and hearing, what type of sales program do you do? What is effective for you? And, what stores are really doing great with merchandising that I can go look at so that I can suggest that for other stores? And, what marketing strategies are working for you? What type of, consumer data are you tapping into? All of these questions that got asked, just in side conversations really throughout the Academy, were some of the most valuable to me, and all just a group of people who want to make the industry not just survive, but thrive into the future.
Yeah.
And being surrounded by all of that positivity and drive and optimism was incredible, and really just made me feel even more passionate about what I do, and wanting to continue networking and continue these communications that happen outside of, the walls of just each company that we work for.
That's a great program. Who was your mentor?
I was lucky enough to have Pam Theodosicus from Prana.
Okay.
And Pam was an incredible mentor. She had already, kind of moved on from her career in the industry, having sold Prana to Columbia. And so a lot of what we talked about was work-life balance. And that's something that we all, we use that phrase all the time. When we talk about how the industry has such great work-life balance, but for a lot of people,
on a Saturday for 4 hours, right?
Yeah. I think we sometimes kid ourselves, and we have to kind of bring ourselves back to why we really are here to begin with, and that's because of our passion for the outdoors. And if we don't make space for that, then why are we really here?
Yeah.
And so she reminded me of the importance of not only taking time for being outdoors, but really taking time to focus on my marriage, to take care of my health, these things that, when you're young, you're just like, okay, I'm just invincible, and these things are going to be just fine if I don't put time into them. But she and Beav have made a company and a family and survived through all of those things. And, she's like, you just have to have dates all the time. And, it just made me smile and made me realize that, there really are the simple things that we can focus on. And, she also was super encouraging because I wanted to start my own company. And she, obviously, having started her own very successful company, was very encouraging to me, and was excited to give me some of her ideas behind my business. And now I'm almost ready to launch my business. So I'm looking forward to being able to send her my website and say, hey, Pam, you were around when I was just talking about this as an idea. And now look at where it is.
And can you talk about that, or are you going to wait till launch? You can't throw that out there.
Yeah, no. So yes, it's getting very close. It's been a long time coming.
Great.
Starting a business is no joke.
That's right.
It seems like everybody's doing it left and right, but it's actually
unless you stumble into a podcast, and then it's just like, how'd that happen? But that's one in a million.
Hey, it's taken some work, no doubt, to get to where you are too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I went to bring my brother rock climbing in the Bay Area. He lives in Washington, D.C., and he had never rock climbed before, and he had seen pictures of my husband and I, who I met working at A16, by the way.
Oh, cool.
He saw pictures of us climbing and said, I want to do that one day. So he came out to visit, and I was like, okay, I'll rent you some rock climbing shoes. And I couldn't find anywhere that would rent me rock climbing shoes.
Right.
And I was like, what? Sports Baseman didn't have them. REI didn't have them. The local climbing gyms only rented the shoes that have the special rubber that's just for plastic that stays in the gym.
Right.
And I was like, this is so crazy. Like, this is the Bay Area. We're surrounded by amazing rock climbing, and how do we not have shoes? So I decided that I would start my own rock climbing rental shoe business, and I would rent rock climbing shoes and crash pads and local climbing books. So I did just that. I bought 100 and 20 pairs of climbing shoes and a bunch of crash pads and some climbing books.
Nice.
And then I realized that, oh wait, how am I supposed to have a full-time job and rent these things to people? So it took some time, but I found a business partner who has a really cool company that people should check out called Last Minute Gear. And it's lastmingear.com. And it's a company based in San Francisco that rents camping gear for pay what you can. And you can reserve up to an hour before.
Wow.
And you can pick it up 24 hours a day.
Wow.
And the way you can pick it up 24 hours a day is there's a locker system, kind of think Amazon lockers.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That is in a kind of a locked part of the building. So you get a code to unlock the door, you get a code to unlock your locker, you take your gear out any time of day and take it out, and then you can return it in the same fashion.
Interesting. Well, we'll link to that too. That's cool. How long?
Yeah.
How long has that been in business?
That's been in business now for 3 years.
Okay.
And it was just run out of the guy who started it, James Dong. It was just out of his apartment for the last 2 years. And then he finally got the ability to get a actual retail space in the Mission District in San Francisco,
Very cool.
really close to the BART station. So easy for people to get to, and there's street parking. So I'm going to be a pop-up shop within his store.
Nice.
That's all the climbing gear. So people will be able to reserve it and pick it up 24 hours a day.
Very cool. When you get your website up, make sure you let us know so we can put that in the show notes and link to
I
all
will.
that stuff. Yeah,
I
that's
will.
exciting. Good for you.
Yeah, lots of balls juggling in the air.
Yeah, no kidding. So what are a couple accomplishments you're most proud of in all these things that you've done, from your A16 guiding days to Trail Mavens, launching your business? I mean, you've done a lot.
I think something that I'm most proud of was something that I did with the Future Leadership Academy, which was we got to be consultants for a nonprofit in the outdoor space and help them try to solve, some problems that they had, because of course nonprofits don't have a ton of funds to work with to go get outside help. And so part of the Leadership Academy was doing a 4-month project where we worked closely with a nonprofit. And I was really excited because we got to work with Big City Mountaineers, who I had worked with kind of fundraising for 8,000 meter challenge back when I was at Adventure 16. So I was familiar with the organization, and my group got to work really closely with Brian at Big City Mountaineers to help them evaluate and prepare recommendations to evolve their Summit for Someone program, which is their biggest fundraising platform.
Awesome.
And that was something I was really proud of, because we were able to really dive in and get some great data for them, and then be able to present them with some real viable paths forward. And it was really exciting because they pretty much immediately took some of our feedback and implemented it. And this year they sold out all of their Summit for Someone trips, which is really, really exciting. So that was something I was really proud of and excited to be able to give back to those nonprofits in our community that make our industry better.
That's great. Pretty cool. And so what are some other nonprofits that you work with?
Another one I work with, actually through my husband, who's on the board of the nonprofit, is Bay Area Wilderness Training. So that's a local nonprofit here in the Bay Area that gets at-risk youth outdoors, but it's a totally different model where they actually work on training teachers and youth leaders in the Bay Area to become outdoor guides and leaders, so that they can then take all of their students out wherever they want to. And then the nonprofit also has 4 gear libraries that are buildings full of gear that get maintained, that all of those youth leaders who get trained can actually use all of that gear for free once they complete their training.
That's awesome.
So it's amazing. They can outfit a class of 30 students with full head to toe clothing and gear. These kids don't have wool socks. They don't have anything. Boots. They don't have anything. And so it's pretty incredible. So I do some volunteering with them and help them, with their fundraisers and with some of their gear repair as well.
Cool. And so how about some other mentors that have helped you along the way? Have there been any other outdoor related or non-outdoor related?
Outdoor related and also kind of life related. Jeff Sheets has been a really amazing mentor to me. and Jeff was one of the first reps that I ever met in the outdoor industry.
He didn't get you into lumberjacking, did he?
I'm sure he would have liked that. But he kind of became my unofficial mentor. He was and still is somebody that I call whenever I'm kind of at a point of transition and not really knowing exactly what path to go. And he always has an incredible, way of guiding me in a direction that he thinks is a great one, because he knows me pretty well by this point.
Yeah. Well, he's got great perspective on most things and super energetic. I mean, always positive energy emitting from that guy. It's amazing. Yeah, he's great.
It is. So I'm super grateful for his mentorship and friendship. And he and I got the opportunity recently to co-host the going away party for the Adventure 16 in Tarzana.
Oh, yeah.
We both got to manage that store at one point or the other. And so he and I put on a lovely going away.
That's what I heard. I was in Tarzana the night before and something came
no
up.
way.
Yeah. So I couldn't, I had to bail on that. But yeah, he worked at the Tarzana store when I worked in San Diego.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. I know. There's so many A16ers out there.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I remember when I started working at Timbuktu and someone's like, oh, yeah, Mike Wallenfels used to run Timbuktu. And I was like, really? He used to be an A16?
Yeah, he and I were roommates at A16 way back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. The world is so small.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Jeff's a great guy, though.
Yeah, he's a wonderful mentor.
Yeah, he's fabulous. And so do you have any advice or suggestions for folks that want to get into the outdoor biz, or maybe if they're already in, they want to grow their career?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is to just take advantage of every single opportunity there is to get more involved. So if there is an opportunity to be a part of an event that takes you away from your company or your store or wherever you're working so that you can get exposure to other companies or other aspects of the industry, I think that we need to encourage everybody to have these kind of cross-functional trainings so that we can take all of these bits of information that we find out there and use them to make our industry better. So if somebody is interested in getting into the industry who isn't in the industry already, I think it's really important to, if you can, go to these industry networking events, whether it be Camber or OIA puts on some throughout the country.
Yeah, and
going to those are really helpful.
Yeah, you can find them all on these websites. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of a new thing the last few years. But the local
those have been incredible. Yeah. We just had at the last Camber event at the North Face, we had people who were like, "Hey, I'm in accounting, and I've been working in the financial industry, and I'm really tired of this industry, and my friend works in the outdoor industry, and so I'm here to kind of find out more." And that got me really excited because we do need these people from outside to come in and bring all of their other industries' knowledge to help grow and strengthen ours.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, we need a lot of those guys to help us with the back end side of the business, right? We've done a really great job on the front side, but the back side.
I know. I'm like, oh, wow, you have e-com experience? Great.
Right.
Come on in.
Exactly. Help.
Yeah, exactly.
And you still participate in a lot of outdoor activities. What are some of those that you do? You still bike and hike, obviously, climb.
Yeah. Now that I'm working and living on the same side of the bay, I have been biking to work every day, which is really been wonderful. So I love road cycling. And then on the weekends, I'm usually either hiking or backpacking or rock climbing. And then just this last winter, my husband and I decided to take up cross-country skiing. Oh, cool. And neither of us are skiers or snowboarders. And so we realized that, one day we want to be backcountry skiers so that when we do our mountaineering trips, we aren't those people who are hiking down. We're flying down on a snowboard or a split board or something. And so we decided this would be our good little introduction to, being on skis would be cross country. So did some fun little winter adventures this past winter.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. That's a fun way to go. I've done a bunch of that.
Nice.
with
That's
guys like
awesome.
Wallenfels and Steve Barker and all those guys.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe one day I'll get good enough that I can go on one of those trips.
Yeah. Well, our challenge is we've been going in the spring the last few years and there hasn't been any snow. So we had a rep from Colorado, Smokey Anderson, who said, I'm not going with you guys anymore because they turn out to be hiking trips with your skis. I'm not into that.
I know. We do need a much better snow year. This year was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, there's some good backcountry skiing in the Sierra right now. We had a great year last year, obviously. So.
Yeah, I know. Last year was kind of like so much that sometimes it was hard just to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
So
that's true.
Now it's but
pretty
hopefully next winter we'll have some early snow that'll stick around and kind of build out throughout the season.
That's the beauty of it. You never know.
I know. We can't rely on it either. That's true. That's the trouble in the industry is we've gotten too, over the years too dedicated to these huge winters. And exactly. I think now people are starting to adjust and figure out ways to be creative with it. But we can't rely on it being great every year like it used to be.
Yeah, we're getting better at that. Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? Do you meditate, exercise, walk the dog?
If I had a dog, I would definitely use that as one of my meditations.
Uh-huh.
I definitely exercise every day. For me, my meditation lately has been my ride to work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in terms of other daily rituals, I try to spend some time in my garden every day.
Oh, nice.
So I love having this little slice of paradise in my backyard where I can, grow vegetables and tend to them. And there's nothing like walking out and seeing fresh strawberries on the strawberry plant or picking plums off the tree. So I try to find my little, moments of peace in my own backyard.
That's good. And how about some favorite books? Do you read a lot? You give books as gifts?
Yeah, I'm not an avid reader, but I'm trying to get back into reading. I just have so many things going on.
You have no time to read. Yeah, when are you going to read?
Sometimes it's hard to find time to read. Yes. And now that I don't have a commute where I'm sitting on the train, it's hard to read a book while riding my bike.
Yeah.
But books that I always love, Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, Monkey Wrench Gang by Edward Abbey. Those two are kind of ones that I go back and revisit. Humor is something that I always look for in books. I just love to smile and laugh and kind of be taken away from, any serious struggle that I may be dealing with. I can jump into the book and have
those are two good ones for that, huh?
yeah, I know, exactly.
That's great.
So those are great ones. But right now I'm reading Designing Your Life, which is a really great book. We're actually reading it with the alumni group of the Future Leadership Academy.
Oh, cool.
So it's all about design thinking, and it's been really thought-provoking.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's one of the new trends right now is, we kind of, my generation's life just kind of happened. We had a career path that we followed in our parents' footsteps, or if we were lucky enough to get into something like the outdoor biz. And I love the new thinking about designing your life around, your skills and your desires and your ambitions. I think that's a great way to go.
Definitely. Yeah. It's been great.
Do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
That's a great question. Some of my favorite pieces of gear are over $100, but I have to say I've had the same pair of Darn Tough socks in rainbow colors for 7 years.
Wow.
No holes. I wear them pretty much constantly. They've been all over the world with me, and they're still going strong. So cool. I'd have to say the Darn Tough socks.
That's a good one.
They're pretty remarkable.
Yeah, well, we'll put a link to those in the show notes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure they're many people's favorites because they're.
I think Christo Kuzmich has mentioned that before from A16. Somebody.
Yeah, he's the reason why I have Darn Tough
There you go.
socks.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as we go to wrap here, is there anything else you'd like to ask of our audience or say to our audience?
Well, just keep on. Doing your outdoor activities and sharing your passions with other people. And always seek opportunities to bring others into the fold and show other people how awesome our community is.
That's great advice. Bring others. I love it. Yep. And how can people find you if they want to reach out, ask you a question?
You can
follow
find
up?
me on LinkedIn, Katie Wade, and you can also feel free to reach out via email, Wade, Katie Ann with an E at the end, @gmail.com.
Wade, Katie Ann @gmail.com. Cool. We'll link to that in the show notes too.
Wonderful.
Well, great. It's been awesome catching up with you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. So we won't see you at OR. You got to figure out a way to sneak in for a day or two.
You'll figure it out. The Future Leadership Academy does a bunch of stuff surrounding OR. So yeah. I am going to see if I can get my way back to Denver.
Yeah. It'll happen. Yeah. Good. Well, I look forward to seeing you there.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Katie. It's been great.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Katie Wade. You can catch up with Katie on LinkedIn and by email at wadekatieann@gmail.com. That's WADEKATIEANNE@gmail.com. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 103. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.